right. I think I have this set up, RJ, so bear with me 1
Okay.
minute. Un momento, as I like to say. Where is it? Okay. Flowers bud vortex. Spiral in sunflowers perplexed. Helical analemas spinning. Infinity of magnetic torus. Powered effortlessly with electricity from the creator's frequency. Speaking sparks of life that planned matching echo, bouncing off sculpted skull bones, so I can warn of a judgment. Supply only reaction to spark. Ride the non-viscosity wave. Electricity separated the water. It still will by his will. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. It's my privilege, my honor to welcome my big brother, my hero, the famous Randy from Wisconsin. How you doing, brother? What's up?
Good morning. Thank you for the invite. That was quite the trail of words you laced together there.
Well, that's all I got, except for a few other things. So you're gonna have to fill in some blanks. I've got to show the disclaimer because I have some videos. I got to make the screen so it does show the disclaimer. Although fair use there, because the man, if anything, he cares about fair use. One thing about Big Brother. He wants things fair. So we got to show this to pass the test for the Big Brother test. You ever see this guy?
Unveiling a treasure trove of early rocket science. Fast forward to 1961. Professor Doru Todoriciu from Bucharest University stumbled upon this gem in the state archives of CBU, Romania. And so, the manuscript earned its name, the CBU Manuscript. One of the most fascinating aspects of this document is its detailed rocket illustrations. Imagine a cylinder-shaped thrust chamber filled with powdered fuel and a conical combustion chamber, a significant leap in technology for its time. Before this discovery, the earliest known documentation of a multi-stage rocket was attributed to Kazimierz Siewierski in the world of ancient rocket science. Picture this, a centuries-old document revealing early rocket technology, authored by none other than Conrad Hos, an Austrian military engineer from the 16th century. Conrad Hos, born in 1509, is credited with...
Conrad Hos, born in 1509. In case you can't follow this guy's accent, Conrad Hos, born in 1509, developed a three-stage rocket.
Creating the first theories on multi-stage rockets. His work, known as the CBU Manuscript, reflects groundbreaking concepts that were far ahead of his time. Originally penned in German, this 450-page manuscript covers a wide array of topics, from artillery to detailed ballistics. Until recently, it was relatively unknown. But
so they didn't know anything about it till recently.
Fast forward to 1961.
Okay, there we go. We're going to look at this guy because...
Yeah, I was going to just drop a comment. The purpose of your disclaimer is not due to lack of seriousness.
Yeah, because this is all serious. This is life or death, eternity. So this guy in the 1500s, 1600s wrote how to make a Warner von Braun. Yeah, the Disney Warner von Braun, after they brought over the Germans to help us after we won World War II. We needed them because we needed this, allegedly.
Okay.
Yeah. Although Conrad Hos designed weapons to kill, he kept it a secret, but he believed in basic human values. He kept it a secret. His basic humanistic attitude is particularly clear from the following statement. But my advice is more peace and no war. Leave the rifles under the roof so the bullets won't be fired. The powder won't be burned wet. So the prince kept his money, the gun master his life. That is the advice of Conrad Hos. He's the guy that did the Haagen-Dazs ice. No, I'm just kidding. He's the guy that invented the 3-stage rocket. Say, 500 years ago. That's just crazy. Look at this guy. Look at him go. There he is. Kind of like looking in a mirror. So, what about that?
But it was
500. It's fake.
But it's crude theory, or was he actually blasting these, into the stratosphere? Or what's
No, hell
going
no.
on?
This is all fake. This is all Jesuit propaganda. That's bullshit that they put out and faked so that people would go like, oh, wow, Jules Verne might have a thing going about the hollow earth. It's fake history for a fake reason because they want to fake us out and act like, well, maybe it's aliens or something. This guy, Conrad Hos, let's get to the bottom of this situation here. So they claim he wrote this book. I think it's fake. I think it's like Tacticus. I think it's like Josephus. Where would we be without? Where would they be without? Oh my goodness, we were right and he was right and they thought we could do it and he probably learned it from the Greeks or something,
So the purpose was a deterrent because he could visualize attaching some sort of, I don't know, bombs, or is that what it's implied?
Darn right. He wanted to blow them up. But for me, I don't, I'm dropping this on you and everybody else. I've talked about this guy before. I've shown this before, but it's been 5 years. But here we go. It's Australian. It's Transylvanian. It's Saxon. It's a military engineer because whatever, rocket propulsion, 3-stage rocket. This is our life. Vienna, the Habsburgs, Imperials, the Ferdinand and the Jezebella. These are the guys that, their daddy sent Christopher Columbus, Liquid fuel. That's hydrogen peroxide. We know that now. Finns and post-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Well, that was at the end of the Golden Age, 650. What else have we got? Glad I played that.
Tiberius repaired Constantinople's sea.
With Tiberius, he's another one that faked history about what happened right after Armageddon in 70 AD and explained that life just went on as normal. And no, it didn't. He's a fake. Josephus is a fake. Conrad Hos is a fake. They faked all this crap.
Wars and repatriated Cypriot communities initially moved to Cyzicus by Justinian II to their home island. By now, a new theme had been created, this time for the island of Sicily.
Yeah, it's a new theme. It's a way to describe and add 1,000 years, everyone, that is just messed up. And he's a fake. Tacticus is a fake. This isn't fake, though. This is 6 years old, or this is 1 year old. They're still talking epigenetics. We need to talk epigenetics. Where's that one section that
on the chromosomes, when they fold
Four-dimensional
up, that'll
DNA.
affect which genes are available. So when God wrote out the code for the genome, he knew how it was going to fold into 3 dimensions.
Yes.
And so some genes can't be accessed by the cell. They're not available because they're buried. But the cell can use that if it changes the shape of the chromosomes.
So DNA in this case is storing information in the 3-dimensional shape.
In a 3-dimensional shape, yes. In fact, I remember when the Human Genome Project was completed,
Yes.
one of the first papers I read afterwards, these scientists were looking at genes that are used together in biochemical pathways. Now, the classic one we learned about E. coli is called the lac operon.
Yes, with the genes together.
Yeah, it's 3 genes together, and when the cell wants to digest lactose, it turns all 3 of the genes on. So 3 different proteins are made, and now the cell can eat lactose.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, well, if evolution is true, then there should be some simple correlation between the genes that are used together and where they're located in the genome. And they found out, no, they're random. They're found all over the place.
And they sure did jump on the bandwagon after World War II thinking they knew everything. And they poisoned the women with promises that you won't be nauseous during your pregnancy. You'll only have a blind baby, or maybe they'll have their fingers fused together. That's how we ended up with so many blind people born in the 1950s. It was science's fault, RJ.
An experiment gone awry, you mean? Or
yeah, because they're so confident in their science, and we're living that right now post lockdown.
jab?
Hey, we've got a semi-viral video, 175 views, and people like the title. And let's just focus on Spain a little bit. We saw this one, but I'm not going to show any porno. I was just kidding, but they're all weird, right? Did you see this one, RJ?
It reminds me of that. What's that event that goes on out in the desert there? Was that in Arizona?
The Burning Man. Yeah, Burning Man. But this town, Valencia, is so big, and it's in Star Force City, and this is what they're in. And so this is what made me look all that up. As I saw this, I go, what is going on? It's like, don't we know? I mean, we all know what Obama's about. We all know that our country's governed by a bunch of sex fiends. The woman about to be elected president slept her way to the top through the means of TV hosts like Montel Williams. She thought that was a good idea. They know what's. I just can't get over that. They did the whole Fat Tuesday Roman Catholic thing, but if you ask me, their artists are better than the ones in New Orleans. That's
yeah. If you want to call that talent or gifted, I suppose.
Yeah. Their salt of the earth is going to get trampled underneath the feet. So anyway, this guy Tacticus wrote this book. We mentioned him earlier. He's one of these historians you just have to ignore. They all just right. They wrote the book Germania, or they thought he did, and it taught the Nazis how to be Nazis. It begins with a description of the lands, the laws, and this blue-eyed, golden-haired people that, just didn't seem to have any other descendants because nobody wanted to live up there where they lived with their, their physical characteristics: blue eyes, red hair, large body, vigorous, tolerant to hunger and cold. Tacticus describes their government and leaderships, and the Nazis bought into it completely. And that's where they got it, because, well, it was rediscovered in 1902 when the one-drop rule was in full effect in the United States and around the world with eugenics, Darwinism. Rediscovered in 1902, of course, by a Roman Catholic priest, somebody who studies blood, in the possession of, well, he just found it there in this, star fort. That's a big one. So they temporarily transferred it to Florence, and the big deal. It's a big deal. That's called the Valencia Fallis is that burning, and it all leads back, you know, to Valencia, the town that was just buried by water. And look at this city. This had to be one of the cities. I think God is judging the cities that did it. Wait till you see the inside of this salt palace of, you know, look at the disrepair that roof is in. Boy, people can be lazy. I know I can. I try to fight it. I try to stay busy. So this town is, you know, sure enough, been a Star Force city for a long, long time. But a tourist place, and now it's shut down. Their New Orleans, like our New Orleans, is destined to be shut down. Now, right here, the town of Valencia, that just got flooded in Spain. We covered it yesterday. Their pillars, you can get pillars that blow people's mind because they're big and stuff, but did you twist them and make every single one fit onto the roof as if it's a vine that's growing into an arch that leads to triangles, pentagons, magic circles, vesica piscis, all the while building small little domes? So some cities are nice and some cities are over the top. This is over the top, RJ.
Oh, the detailing is spectacular. Correct. Yes. And it's been there a while, probably.
Right. And it's going to survive this flood. Only the people that live there can't go to the ATM today. They don't got no money. And there's 500,000 of them. They got trouble there. I think we showed their cars are under the ground. You know, like, let's see.
Like in a canal or an empty canal now or something. Or maybe it was an underpass. But yeah, they were piled up like cordwood. I don't know.
Not laughing at, you know, but that, I mean, let's just drop this in here. I want to get to your emails so we can give them a half hour or so.
And at least 95 people are now dead after flash floods in southern and eastern Spain. Officials are calling it the worst natural disaster to hit the European country in recent memory. Now search and rescue efforts are underway as at least 2,000 people are still missing or trapped. Foreign correspondent James Longman joins me live now with the latest. James, emergency services say almost all of these deaths have been recorded in Valencia. Now,
hey, why did
the death toll from flash flooding in Spain
fail?
has risen to 155? This as the country begins 3 days of mourning. On Thursday, Spain's King Felipe warned that the emergency is not over yet. The eastern regions of Murcia and Valencia were hit the hardest. The region saw heavy rain after
they got those fancy spiral towers. I don't think they're going to get hurt.
A cold drop triggered huge storms. Now, cold drops are when a cold Atlantic low pressure system collides with warm Mediterranean air.
Rescue workers are scouring the flooded landscape.
Look at that.
Airlifting stranded residents to safety.
That'd be fun.
Swathes of the area are completely submerged after a year's worth of rain fell in just a few hours.
Stacked up like cordwood. What are these people going to do?
What can communities do to prepare and reduce the impact?
I mean, I think it's clear that authorities need to reevaluate the kind of infrastructure and planning they have.
It's always a good start, right?
Well,
RJ?
that title there, the made worse by cloud seeding or weather
yes, they've
modification.
been experimenting and legally
You can
passed
exchange
cloud seeding.
climate change with those terms, correct?
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened when we covered the flooding. Where was it? It was one of the deserts, like Saudi Arabia. Hey, we're experimenting with cloud seeding. Dang, we flooded our whole town. It's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to call that climate change, yeah, it's certainly different than what you can probably remember in the distant past. But yeah, it's the new normal today.
They got these poor people everywhere under the dome, RJ, just believing in the Virgin Mary and the Trinity, and she's their comfort. These people got nothing left. They have slowly drained everything from their lives.
All they
But
can
they
do
still
is
have their faith.
something will
Correct.
change.
Yeah, they're hoping for a change.
The Chuquicamata mine is not only a problem for the people of Calama. The ores are transported across the Atacama on their way to the port city of Antofagasta. From here, the copper ore is shipped all over the world, including to Hamburg.
They like their hamburgers.
We drove back to Calama. Most of the people here make their living from the copper mine in one way or
They're all
another.
dying young of
But
cancer.
not everyone approves of what is happening here. We got a tip to visit a whistleblower who worked for Codelco until 2015, measuring the air pollution. He showed us measurements from 2021.
Hey, it looks like Vara.
Compared to the standards in Europe, the limits in Chile are a joke. The red line is the European limit. The red bar is a sports field, and the black one is an elementary school. They exceed the limits by more than 200%.
So it's all about copper and metal and stuff.
Is it about money?
Yeah, money, yeah.
By chance that we found ourselves in a cemetery. This is where we met the head of the miners' union, Miguel Fernandez. His father also worked in the mine. At the age of 12, his little brother fell into a borehole and died. The mine has not relinquished its hold over him ever since.
It's crazy that people are dying all the time. Every day.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Which, yeah, death is part of life, or at least the end of life. That's nothing new. It's just how the numbers are exceeding what should be normal. Again, it's the new accepted normal.
I was recently contacted
people
by
don't
some
have
people
to
down
get
in
cancer.
very
Let's see what this
rural
one
East
guy says that
Texas.
you sent me.
And
Okay.
they told me they were going to be forced off their land and out of their homes to make way for a new lake. This lake was to provide water for the growing metropolis of Dallas and Fort Worth. The very
if you play probably the first couple minutes of that other one prior to this one, it'd be more chronological, because that cat, and you're familiar with him, that Martin dude, and his was like 15 hours old. This one here is a little over a week, 8 days, I believe. But the other,
I just watched this one this morning, RJ.
no, but I sent you.
The one I'm going to show next.
2 for 1.
I did watch this.
Yeah. Okay. And that
law condemns the man.
And that goes. He gives you a little different context to how laws get changed by those who benefit. It'll give you a little
greed. Some people gotta have more. They gotta have an easier life. They don't.
And this isn't anything new. It's driving the peasants off the common land thing. And he explains it. And now it's eminent domain here.
Yeah,
and,
that's
mitigation.
I love you, man.
Steals the goose from off the common, but leaves the greater villain loose, who steals the common from off the goose. The law demands that we atone when we take things we do not own, but leaves the lords and ladies fine, who take things that are yours and mine. So what I want to talk about today is enclosure, because it's something a lot of people probably don't know about, but it's important, and it's actually happening now. And this comes to my attention every time there's kind of a political move to destroy farming and farmers, because you might not know this, but we run a small farm here in Michigan, a biodynamic farm. We're on 10 acres. But
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit.
Yeah, you go a tad bit, but
which meant these were common to all the people. And usually it was not necessarily the best land in the world, but the people would work together to make it better. And one way to make land more tillable and have greater tilth is to graze animals on. So they would find a spot, like we're across the street from where I live, or across the road from where I live, is a 40-acre meadow that used to be part of this farm. But I think this is a great example of enclosure. During the Depression, they were forced to sell some of their land to the state of Michigan. So we would take this place like here. It's not like, say I have on our road where it's only three of us. So if this were the commons, we could say, well, got some land over here. What should we do? We can use it for firewood. Let's whatever the deadfall is from storms, we'll divide that up. How about you graze your cows here, and then after that we'll let the sheep go. We can make it so we can have domiciles in closer proximity to one another. Yeah, that's actually going to be great for our tax base. And then they do a little bit more. You know what? That's really good. In fact, then the taxes go up, right? Everybody's taxes go up. And what happens is the farmer's taxes go up. And so you have some 80-year-old farmer who's still working his land, but not making much money. And his taxes go up, and then he can't afford to pay the taxes, right? And then what happens? If you can't afford to pay, well, they take your land, or then you're forced to sell, right? You're forced to sell. Who do you sell to? Real estate developers.
Yeah, he finishes that poem about the last 90 seconds of this thing, where he began this clip with that. And this goes back from whatever he said, the 1500s, as far as in England or UK, whatever, is driving the peasants off the public lands.
I didn't have my microphone on. We're interrupting this to show some pictures. Now this is epigenics, and I wanted people to see that how sometimes even in the closed captions they try to hide the truth. So let's read what it says here. But if I take the DNA from these two people and sequence it would be able to tell which came from the man and which came from the woman, because in mammals, gender is determined by whether or not you have a Y. And notice you got a chromosome. If I were able to, a male crocodile and a female crocodile, I'd sequence it. And the chromosome, if I were to take it from a male and female crocodile, they would not be able to tell which it was, because a crocodile's egg determines its fertilization of whether it's going to be a male or a female by is the temperature of the water or the ground, the soil that the egg is laid in. Not so with humans. I guess I wanted to add that earlier because of all this controversy about what's a man, what's a woman, and things like that. We used to know.
So until they muddied the waters?
They muddied it up.
Anti-human policies come into place, and this latest farming was just one of many. This is a country that puts you in jail for a tweet. Okay, that's totalitarianism.
We can laugh about it now,
but to sort of end. Let me finish the last two verses of our song, Goose in Common. And actually, there's a great musical version of it, which has very few views, by these two girls called the Askew Sisters. And hopefully, I will remember to put it in the show notes so you can check it out. It's really a great version of the song.
That is, I just noticed the sculpture up in the window. That's I could do that. That's pretty cool. That's a good idea.
The poor and wretched don't escape if they conspire the law to break. This must be so, but they endure those who conspire to make.
Before I tried to interrupt
this latest farming was just one of many. This is a country that puts you in jail for a tweet. Okay, that's totalitarianism. In case you didn't know. But to sort of end, let me finish the last two verses of our song, Goose in Common. And actually, there's a great musical version of it, which has very few views, by these two girls called the Askew Sisters. And hopefully, I will remember to put it in the show notes so you can check it out. It's really a great version of the song in a very unique arrangement. Right here are the last two verses. The poor and wretched don't escape if they conspire the law to break. This must be so, but they endure those who conspire to make the law. The law condemns the man or woman who steals the goose from off the common, and geese will still a common lack till they go and steal it back. And I should add that one of the things that happened with the commons, when they threw the people off the land, where are they going to go? And they were forced to go into the cities, and this was around the time of the rise of the Industrial Revolution, when it really got going in the 18th century. And what happened then? Prostitution goes through the roof. Alcoholism goes through the roof. Drug addiction, syphilis, because people are in despair because they're cut off from the land, right? And that's actually much of the writing of Charles Dickens, when he's talking about poverty. He's talking about the repercussions of enclosure, not just the fact that people are driven into cities like animals to feed the machine, to feed the industrial machine, but it's dehumanizing. So think about this, right? And I have to say, I didn't know.
It's obvious they want to dehumanize us. That's like, yay, it's good to have a goal, I guess, but where do they come up with that one,
I was recently.
It's just.
Able to recognize, not only the times of the past, and like we have much of the written history is fake, but not all of it. as far as the dehumanizing aspects of, the what feeds the greed and drives, the beast, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's probably been pretty true, real enough, no doubt. But yeah, and it continues. Yeah. What you try and do what you're capable of, between, as far as your resources as an individual. But yeah, it's limited. And then sifting through all, the nonsense as well. But yeah, you're still impacted by it for sure.
Yeah, whether you know it or not, whether while you're playing a
Yep.
video game or you're watching a soap opera, you're being impacted by people who have not your best interest at heart. RJ, you know somebody that has, not really started farming, but wants to grow marijuana plants infused with colloidal silver, grow mushrooms, and start, limited space. It takes so much, it doesn't take much space, but people need to be doing something with their time that goes back to, it wasn't Moses's law, but what is that sweat of the brow thing?
Yeah, well, as far as what you'd be doing amongst the thorns and thistles to acquire your bread, so to speak. Yeah, that again, you're implying uh, hard work and time-consuming hard work, just to maintain your day to day, I suppose. And then, when it comes to uh, joining up to become one flesh and, yeah,
There you go.
raising a family and how that, again, when it
Time
liability.
consuming.
Well, no, but now you're adding liabilities
Oh,
and,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
you know,
responsibility, liability,
yeah, it's
the
adding.
responsibility of a wife and child drives
Yeah, should
men
you take
to
that vow?
practically enslave themselves, and they
And that's
end up
how.
as, like working all day at the salt mine so they can put some crumbs on the table that night.
And juggling priorities. That's, so, you not always have the same goal 100% of the time. You can only spread yourself so thin, to cover what you feel are the necessary priorities in your life at whatever period of time you're in. It
And now the
changes.
man that we're going to watch in this next video, uh, we interrupt these people's lives that are going to be watching this, and they know, okay, there's an election tomorrow, there's this, there's that. There's going to be a week after the election, a month after election. There's not going to be a rapture. We're going to be dealing with this for a while. Long term, we need to somehow be making a plan to get out of the city. Uh, something.
Well, yeah, until the Lord either takes us out individually and rescues us that way, before the final grand finale. Yeah, that's probably a honorable goal to,
So,
stay doing the Lord's will, the Lord's work
right. And
in
that's
whatever
what I feel that
capacity.
people like us do. We're trying to do the Lord's will. We're in a position where we can, but what I want to have other people do is count the cost of doing a full-time ministry, being, my priority is called by God and not to your family, and listening to other people that are called by God and have proven it. That's important to me, RJ, because we're going to be going forward with people whose number one priority, and I've said this before, is not to judge other Christians, because some are, as it said, yield 30, 60, 90, or 100-fold, depending on where God had planted them to yield that exact amount, that they're saved, is they're blessed. And we're going to have a lot of troubles here. It's not going to be over just because there's eventually the power is going to go out, because we're ruled by demonic,
tyrants,
child eating, adrenochrome drinking fiends that our mind cannot comprehend. And we can't act like it's going to be okay. It'll be okay. No, we're going to be running for our lives the rest of our lives very soon. Anything you want to add before we show this video and then get your final thoughts?
Yeah, a lot of it may not be a pretty picture. That doesn't mean you're unable to enjoy life today.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as a purpose of just, you know, the influence that we can bring to help lift the veil of, you know, deception, delusion, illusion, you know, the life that they would like you to live, you know, the tyrants and whatever, those pulling the strings attached to, you know, the puppets, and we may even be a puppet ourselves, I suppose. But it's a matter of who's pulling your strings, and we're, you know, our goal is just to, you know, get the truth, God's truth, what He has revealed in His sacred scriptures, you know, and have the influence of, you know, His entire counsel of His word, you know, what He has revealed, those truths, and apply them, you know, daily. And the problem is that there isn't nearly enough people that understand His truths.
Here's something that I would say. I've left this comment up for quite some time because I think that truer words haven't been written unless they've been inspired by God. You know, people, you don't have to be online to be doing the Lord's will. Too much studying is going to make you crazy. What you need to do is go out and mow your yard, clean up some trash around the house, polish some rocks, go out and find some rocks and say, hey, Paco, is this a heart or what do we got here? It's weird. By the sweat of our brow, we need to work together. And it is. So there's something going on where it makes sometimes, and I feel it too, it's like, ooh, there's some new info out there, and if I don't know it, I'm going to be behind the curve. Nobody wants to be behind the curve.
Good.
Look at this cowboy.
Contacted by some people down in very rural East Texas, and they told me they were going to be forced off their land and out of their homes to make way for a new lake. This lake was to provide water for the growing metropolis of Dallas.
You see where his star is? That's pretty close to that girl, you know, that was, you know, we were in the same class our entire, you know, high school until, you know, she went and left the public high school where I graduated from and graduated where my wife Joan did in that private school, half hour, 40 minutes the other direction. But where that star is, that's really close to Paris, Texas. And that's where she lived for 30 years. And I brought her home and, you know, to live with her mother. And she didn't last 6 months and died from cancer.
Yeah.
Just a side note. And that was
less than 2 years ago.
well, that was just, she passed away when I drove down, or I flew back down to Florida to drive the snowbirds back to Wisconsin in February this year, this past February. So, yeah.
Yeah, your Februarys are pretty busy. But everybody,
but
it's good to have
that's
a
what she
plan.
lived for 30 years, right? Yeah. Right near where that star was, where he was,
where they're poisoning them.
This action that.
When I heard about this was, can Dallas get this water some other way? Or do they have to push these people off the land and build this reservoir to get the water they need? But then I heard about something that blew me away and completely changed my first question that I thought I needed answered. And that was that they're not just going to take the land where the water sits, which would be around 100 square miles of rural Texas. But they were also planning on taking another 200 square miles or even more than that for something called mitigation. This changed my first question to, what the heck is mitigation?
And it's sitting in, Red River County, and here's Titus County and Franklin County.
And where are we at right now?
We're actually right here.
Right here. Okay.
There's like mitigating factors is usually how that word is used in context. Like, I wanted to cross the mountain, but there were grizzly bears, that's a mitigating factor.
We are standing in this little section right here. We're standing right here next to the highway.
So if this thing happens, this definitely will take your land.
Yes, I kind of drew that off to scale the best I could.
Sure.
But anyway, that's our place. Cuthand Creek is the northern boundary of our ranch.
Okay.
And so it would get, I don't know the percentage, but it would definitely get part of our land.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, the big unknown. And then the big unknown, mitigation.
Yeah.
What happens after that? And won't know until the process has already started, until the permits are already started. So they have to start the process to know that.
I see.
And there's a lot of people that are sitting out there, and I hate to say this, but there's a lot of people that probably think they're immune to this.
That are going
to end up being surprised that they're going to take their land for mitigation. They're not going to have any idea, because mitigation.
What is that stake here, RJ? What are the?
Well, with some, it could be their livelihoods,
right.
Not just the address where they receive their mail, because I'm sure, not everyone here is, retired and doing that life. You got people here of all ages, families, whatever that, implies is, people living out in, but they want to, flood the area, create a water reservoir for, recreation and everything about. But then they go into that. This isn't even necessary. There's plenty of water elsewhere that they could bring in for a fraction of, the dollar value, but people aren't going to get rich. It's follow the money, again, greed and everything that is attached to such a mindset. Right. It's not a synergy win-win as far as a presentation that way. That isn't. No, these are people fighting for whether it's family farms and livelihood, and then not only that, but taking that acreage out of production of what it's currently doing, creating the livelihood that they're currently, involved in.
We're dealing with people that drink adrenochrome, eat children, and are burning down the factories that make the food, banning people to own chickens because they might spread disease to the whole world. This is not going to get fixed. This is the Bible telling us, don't get hooked on that system. Wherever you are, whoever you are, they own you. And very soon, the big power that used to be the United States is going to be presented a piece of paper that's going to be like an IOU from every other country in the world saying, you owe us a lot of money. We bought your debt. We funded your fund. And it's time to pay the piper. And we don't got the money.
Yeah, and it's not all done entirely through climate change. I mean, we've seen, how they've been able to manipulate people's, cooperation through that type of natural devastation, so to speak. But yeah, eventually you probably still end up somehow either near or in the court system, whether you settle in or out of court. But yeah, it's a grab.
It's a done deal. It's a book with the end written from the beginning. There is no in the Bible. And then it got better because America voted correctly. It's going to end not only in America, Australia, New Zealand, England, and the white power world. It's going to happen everywhere. A judgment by fire. Go, RJ. We're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, like I say, definitely my advice, be real familiar with God's word and what he has revealed, those truths. And we certainly know that, this does not go on indefinitely like maybe some people are determined to think that way, but that, I guess prove all things yourself.
Right. And prove me wrong, people, that you're not going to get raptured next week, next month, or next year. You're going to have children grow up for the next 22 years, and you may get old and you may not make it. You may be part of the salt of the earth that gets trampled underground and becomes useless. Your final thoughts, RJ?
Yeah, stay safe, stay informed.
This psychic weather, that'd be crazy if they could actually start doing it with their minds instead of that silver iodine and all the other stuff they use. Hey, thanks for that weird thought, Gerard. I really appreciate that. Like, I didn't have enough to freak out about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a flat earth nation because the mud flood was Armageddon and there was the reaping, and here we are with a couple of people who consider themselves the mouth of two witnesses. We have your best interest at heart. We always will. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. I'm saying